2020 would go down in history as the year that brought untold hardship to the life of all. This is as a result of the uncertainties that one had to live with, and also the uncountable deaths across the globe due to the COVID-19 virus. COVID-19 are a large family of viruses that are known to cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome and severe acute respiratory syndrome. The novel COVID-19 is a new strain of COVID-19 that has not been previously identified in humans. Common signs include respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and even death. Currently, there is no specific treatment for disease caused by a COVID-19. However, many of the symptoms can be treated based on the patient's clinical condition. Also, supportive care for infected persons can be highly effective. Healthcare is a human right, and every life has equal value. The COVID-19 pandemic is impacting the global population in drastic ways. In many countries, older persons are facing the most threats and challenges at this time. As the virus spreads rapidly in developing countries, the mortality rate for older persons could climb even higher. According to the World Health Organization, although all age groups are at risk of contracting COVID-19, older persons are at a significantly higher risk of mortality and severe disease following infection, with those over 80 years old dying at 5 times the average rate. Although the population of Ghana is young and generally youthful, there is evidence of rapid increase in the size of the elderly cohort. The rise in the elderly population is expected to continue due to declining mortality rates resulting in longevity. Unfortunately, the growth in the elderly proportion of the population is occurring at the same time traditional systems of protection and care for older persons are breaking down on account of urbanization, socio-economic development, and globalization. The essence of this documentary is to assess the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the lives of older persons in Ghana. So, I set out to interact with older persons in selected poverty endemic areas within the Ashaman and the Adenta municipalities. Ashaman and Adenta are communities within the Greater Accra region, the capital city of Ghana. Older persons in these locations are more susceptible to contracting the virus due to how densely populated these communities are. So, are older persons knowledgeable about this novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19?
Yale no me me boy yale no di say yetini nya.
You say that ya evi. Nti wala ina wakwa o ma ben 70 plus going kan na nka na okomo ya se be kan.
Yare a esi Ghana ha no ne ye west 50 going to 60 now we know. Ya na kan ya nche. You see don't be more week.
Yem penifo no mom ne ewu because e bia wo yare bi wo ho. Na wonim na okofa sa yare be kan ho. E be fra wo yare na e wo ho no ama wonya uwo.
For others, there exists some shred of doubt about the existence of this virus. They believe although they are old, they are not susceptible to the virus.
Me benku amidie any nuamantero saya de no pardon me.
I hear but I don't hear the disease actually. Where the disease call that Ebola. I don't see him before. I hear that one. But who you catch him, you see this one disease, it be so you catch in the people. I don't see anybody who that one. Maybe if you are seen, I thought say, I say, it sure say it is for the Ghana.
Mina me dem nse ntimi nyam. Me dem nso kura say yade no se me. Dabi.
Woka say sa yade coronavirus o eye yo anyame. Maybe dia minum akpetashi ntembia o se mada. Obanum hot.
Nyame nko ani me so apart from nyame man so nyame ba kope onu no me so no.
What could be their source of information about this virus, as most of them are almost and always at home?
If you watch TV, so and I'm sent to radio. I'm okay radio, so no radio na say na say so. Me dance so am me be me ti asembia.
I have heard it from Wallace.
Radio damage, so near Copra. Radio damage and TV, no one ability.
Meeting radios. Now, I pick up. Speaker Boboso. And you native. No, Obodero. Now, more information I can majority better radios.
Radio so TV so when it's
The World Health Organization estimates that 66% of people aged 70 and over have at least one underlying health condition, placing them at increased risks of severe impact from COVID-19. Ghana is not an exception when it comes to these statistics. Ranging from blood pressure to blindness, some of these older persons shared their medical condition they are battling with.
Na me nia na ham sisia. Say they ham no say me ni wape na ham kakra.
Myself like this, if you are there, the hot, anything, I fear the sweater and that one. If you are there for house, I don't feel
The heat, because of heat. So
the heat.
My walking is a problem to me.
Asthma also.
Maybe I come in here hamino. And I baby. And I'm in the so baby in 10 years. My name is so very 9 years. Mississippi. And I'm a cotoge. Meant to mean sorry. The same Kataji and I say, be Abakatami Sane with me sorry.
Coronavirus is more deadly in persons with underlying health conditions. This has led to the deaths of millions of older persons across the world. Does their underlying health conditions and their age elicit some kind of fear in these abnormal times? In my interactions with these older persons, they outlined their emotional anxiety they are battling with in this pandemic.
Misro na meti hamempie ko bebia. Ade amititi mu so papa bi was on otobi Abraham nso mititi mu obi. Na me di titi me se me ba pie ko kwan hu na me di atiti me ha asa me di akọ. Misro
I'm not going out. Every day I stay here.
I say I don't need my bufla. Oga wa sisi a woto ankan. Woto akosi jemi. Woto akọ police. Nti ya no ofen jago.
Yeah, me shishim tese sa na manfo okoma. Na wunyi mo hwe na sa kan na we odo kokra. E busanfo mpo. Sinsa me shishim. Nti na se mo ya ho bai. Nti me de ha, wo ba ya wo from se ma be po aja bo man na sa ma da. Mo se na oboma no. Oh. Ne mo hu na sa oboma no.
1973, I am too
Cholera.
Cholera, very nice. Aye. I know it. Actually, my member, my mobile, because Musro, you are able to come at once. Not much to them, my bread. Into Musro be academic.
I'm to Alice, so cram it, cram and I'm young. Nayari any dream. It was also who see. Sing him to say, I call him, we are Cobalanta, and we are crying. I know that young mammy, Yari will mean tinny about Passamda. Meaning who be your Yari that about the tin while society and I'm saying, ah, when you go on a punish and I said, and please, I know do a wanka. A moonsa.
Miss Rook, I think so. When you be Cassandra say, or Bowa Buswa, how I mean, the them. Yes, a near group. We are in the wishing for crime, a shop. See, who are, let us say, oh, I'm not me, woman to shimmy. Oh, we hate you so near there, nay, how. So when you can transfer, now a ball can know. Am I a young sister?
Observations have proven that hospital attendance has reduced drastically since Ghana recorded its first case of coronavirus on 12 March 2020. But does this hold for older persons who from time to time need medical attention and would have to visit the hospital in this pandemic?
Me call the hospital. Me call say coronavirus. And anya wo. Me nko.
Say yale bi ha mi ha matimi akọ hospital na go hear me. They say man ti say yale bi ha mi ha. Me nko hospital.
Go hospital wo yi. Hospital wo ha. Ofro na wo no yoko. Wo dental nche ha. Se me hu ye ya. Ye ba ye kakra na makọ koto.
Hospital there, me go hospital check. You see, I've been a man in the person, me go doctor, so Scasama. They say, you never buy no. We be crowned over Boa, I don't say, a human Asamoah Bassa. You said 208, and I make a quiet, voice you wish a tech, in a quiet pretty. Be pretty and asthma, so asthma, so buy a minimum, asthma, any no, you be a missing a bread, papa. Me pajamas as a back as a magnet, which I may say, when I kick him and imiti, yummy, ya. And the rashi doctors now last me 5th time, no mammy, painkiller, vina me fire. See, ya may do this, cousin to the send me go hospital.
Health experts say eating right in this pandemic is one of the surest ways to boost their immune system. Generally, Ghanaians are proud of their local foods, and in this pandemic, one can imagine what eating right would mean in a typical Ghanaian home. Our older generation shared what they are eating to keep them healthy in this pandemic.
Yeah, no, being near Granibia, Papa also Mamma Granimidi, as an embrace by the Granibia. Obiaba, no Mamma Granin, let me tell her, let me do.
Cotomle, Lenina po, no me, Kosiaka Guzi, Mokokon, or Ben fine pachin, or Lenyaglo.
Former country food, be actually you call it banku, panso or okro soup, cotomble, as a beating that one. I no chop basa.
I ate rice and banku plus groundnut soup, palm nut stew.
Do you take a lot of fruits?
Yes, pineapple and mangoes, orange.
And they are in garlic in your cacadro. There be a dear Maria. Let me tell my baby, so sorry. No, they are no Timothy, my Bankuni, Bibia.
Maybe I pray Kuana, me pet Banku, Ibia.
I'm planning there now.
I pray, I don't quite and quite Uncle Auntie or Hodipa.
The COVID-19 virus is not just threatening the lives and safety of older persons, it is also threatening their social networks, their access to health services, their jobs, and their pensions. It was observed that most older persons are not working and source of revenue has ceased. Their hope is on their children, but in this pandemic, it is really difficult for them to get support from their children and even family relations. To what extent is the welfare of older persons critical to us as a nation?
Grow age, but now if you are grow like this, if somebody will give you work for me. I'm carpenter, so capital grade 1.
Capital grade 1?
Yeah, that's all I do. If you see the work, nobody I grow like this, but I will not cry for top like this. But for the advisor, make something to do. Or that groundwork I go do. But what I go get there, that work, that's all I for house.
They say, Minya, you might be able.
It's a private school. I'm a private school. Come open with your car. What's all your man? So one talk, I just a coffee for a man for I think I can't cry. We talk. And now we talk and ask better.
I'm a Mukova Bella. My driver. That's what they say. Many what's a light I'm moving. Number catch you. Say,
Namitonga, I didn't know the same many.
First, na me ye dwuma security work. Me call ye 1 month ni enti ayaka. Nti me gya ya betene fi.
O man e show ni. Ya yo ne ba no man mu dwuma no affect o mo ye.
Affect o na. O keto no won ko de nya dwuma o fi. Nti ko ni no water kwa na ya na problem kaka.
Na o was affecting the same.
It would man almost momonko nti o mo fi.
Yes, and they are by and I may never be a coffin. Only one can have the man made Juma. Yamity, Doctor's mammy, Juma. I had tea into me, Juma, Tunkalana. I am on Tonka. It's until Juma no coffin. It's your mother said the head.
Health and social care workers play a critical role in providing long-term care to older persons. Dr. Akosia Bona Ajiman is a lecturer at the Department of Social Work, also a lecturer at the Center for Aging Studies of the University of Ghana, Legon. She shares her thoughts on the critical role of social caregivers in this COVID-19 pandemic.
Older persons, what Ghana, any baby, women here care throughout their lives. And this is just one of them. And this is the time I will see a show, love, care, and affinity to them. Now, this is the time on Swa, young new baby into me show, care. No. It's answer we are all afraid of getting the disease. Now, social care, the one individual, so you're well educated about the disease that is going on. One more to me, every kind of first arranging a life, over to me, a combating disease. Now, COVID time, we did. See it to me, and your policies be, and as a strategies be up to her say. When ye yama and Merafon and Cocrafua, woman qua a babuam. So, a Minister of Gender, and any normal teacher, no much mobile, yes, vulnerable groups. Nana, I was so surprised, say, a bar for Montichama vulnerable groups, or mobile Kala, Mania the other, and Merafon and Cocrafua, mem. Nemum, one coffee, be nothing more, or the Abamu will be all right. Abrewa na akokra betumi akọ baby o mo cha na akọ gibi no su benya bi kopim say yemu bi aka say wo mo so mo hia bi ntie o mo anache say wo so apib na de akọ akoma wo you identify them and then give it to them abayan kasan any older persons societies and I say groups and I say homes mpo beka say bia wo mo ha say de what osu children's home ntie de saa niam yi kọ akọ akoma wo nti so mo anya NGOs and our stakeholders bi ni omo to say Center for Aging Studies for example any omo anya adwuma ama omo antro omo say mere wafo ni bi wa ha no bi wa ha wo mo ni mo omo.
One important way to lower risks of older family members catching COVID-19 is to limit in-person visits. But this may be tough for older adults who cherish time spent with friends and family members. While some are trying to live with the situation, others feel rejected by family relations.
And I said, Debbie made a yarn to 20 times. I was a minute.
Waba, wanda. Yakana, you are the Beba.
Oh, Obiamo. Obiama. When I call you, Korea Benki. Mema.
Me, na me bakra wo Lebanon. Me ko nintenya o se jira na yareba. Me fa yareba me ka no se na mi wo hwa yareba se David. Ti mi di wo kra no mama egini bia wo me nsa ho. Ayi bibia ansa na me wura ni dem.
Yes, a hamon.
Eh. There's an untimi enko bibia. Tu wo shawa bu shadem. Ebi a so ni TV. We
need to keep our older adults safe, but also keep in mind that social isolation can have a negative impact on older persons' immunity and mental health. Social distancing does not have to mean isolation or loneliness. Dr. Akosia Bona Ajiman explains how isolation and loneliness can send older persons early to their graves before COVID-19 even rears its ugly head.
Emma, we are isolated. Emma, dementia creates me setting in. In fact, I'm quite to baby will be anchor some who do baby and not a fee. One more cognitive ability near the dinner and not a fee a court form because so now we didn't need money at the idea. They keep active near the other.
With their source of information largely depending on radio, some of these older persons shared their views on how they are keeping safe and protecting themselves.
Maybe I'm so not too long, the place I made an room, sir. Some Phoebe Banama room, sir. Some idea may yammy, Samila and Blaine soon me the Baba who is fine, as an amateur.
By washing hands and the thing you use to wash your hand and to prevent your mouth and the nose.
So many be no say I say ya young horians na any seminar. To a Mizara nam I mean in Kobe BNT say no say here and I'm saying who here meet if you them as a mission. Mean Kobe be
me ba be samene ba mo kwa na macho
ko be kwa ba nti be ye bia no kra okrosa na wa yi bi na wa de papa wa sa ho wo bi afaye sanitizer ni ankonyi pe me am nyan pe bebre enche usep
me ko ai na mako
onse me enchia ende se hu bi kra na je so na hanu entimi ma
se se dem ni ko mi dem fi de mo na wa
nti wo mo ka se bi am wo no ho ban na ho horo ne nsa na fa ne senko ne ni ase ene ne hena no ne ade no ye bi so aye won ko ya hwe kuro a enko
eye hu ehun hia de obefa yonkufu bebre mu asiem ehun hia de obi bewu ma mu nyina mo pa yase ebi ehun hia de obi be ye engagement ma mu nyina mo engagement ehun hia
fa nose cover kata ohini se na be ya so obi wo bi a wonnim to no kasa na jawa cover ho protect wo after that no so no chia obi na mfa ho so nka obi.
Aside these safety precautions by older persons, Dr. Akosia Bona Ajiman recommends the following in keeping them safe and healthy.
I was sent 10 biano one. My massa and Rafon Cocrafon in free a site. We should make friends with them. We should connect them to their old friends as well. Now, aging is interesting. We now are down for be a one chance and soon. It is a necessary wheelchair more, so be our your friend saying wood chair more baby. We should be able to identify friends of these older persons and bring them together. The main here understand policy, aging policy, that 206 brain. Regina, let me refer to it.
So how can older persons keep stress and anxiety at bay during this challenging period?
We can also organize dance and fitness, for them. Be a why no if you cramp on a computer, so cram about a year. Momon Sabi, Yanuomunya exercises kakaka. We should let them feel that they belong. In Pempinia, Yamomo who said, Womo bre etchem by the names we call them. Obi a friend that they be a fed often Olu. What can some cry? Was we old school? They are very bitter when we do that to them. Some of them may take it as jokes, but a lot of them wouldn't want it. And I was say a bomb more down, so a more year regular exercise. Now I am a watchman for and as a security for you fee. Look of fun free, be a free cordobeda, Akofana free cordobeda, the Anaban crime. Also, I know past 5 or the obedi promise away Janama or house help. Say house of people will be on a so manner, and in a cool momentum. Into your mom, what they say, but you have to understand them and then work with them. So in this corona, so we be that bomodiana jai because one share year, Obama or the corona again, I can't, I'm a free mountain. Isolation and loneliness, a and penny for no. pa chain yare. So mo ha adwen de nso no yenya mo ho abotre.
Sponsored by Salom Designs, some older persons were provided with nose masks. It was all exciting observing how they wore the nose masks. It is obvious that there is the need to prioritize the welfare of older persons in this pandemic. Social protection can provide a safety net, but the coverage gaps in some developing countries are sizable, and Ghana is not an exception. Honorable Cynthia Mamle Morrison is the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. She outlines government's social protection measures put in place to care for older persons before and during this pandemic.
Yen ministry, yene azaye yezeboa yene mpenyefo oye leap. Leap no so sebe onye for mbrewa no nkotin ana nkokra nkotin. Leap ye for the poorest of the poor. Inti eba community wona sebe obi a oye disabled oka leap beneficiary ho. And the disability no so or a certain form. If a mammy be a or a year for why opinion or the dame, the mammy or can any leap beneficiaries on. Leap beneficiaries no so apart from physically challenged people now or a ubo or a punafo widow. Looking a wager or one baba 7. If she needs to be ma, only Scott what to is manager and only schedule papa BR or ye, the more crofon so. Or can category away leap of one covered by as a ministry. It's banner yet to me as a mount because no them lock down the one lock one down. Sisia ono ya we yamon sanitizers, one nose mask. I don't put on the one ban. In Drew Nazis as a ministry and Yendrew Abrowan on to me Juma into education and
it is also crucial to minimize this risks by addressing the needs and human rights of older persons in our efforts to fight the pandemic. At the same time, many of these risks are not new. Older persons have long been subject to inadequate protection of their human rights and overlooked in national policies and programs.
You want 3 words: gracefully aged, successfully aged, or actively aged. We have people, older persons that have all the 3. Aging is inevitable. It will happen to everybody unless you go too soon. Old age is young people, young problem. That is our problem. How to get there? What do you do to get there? And the man can plan year. Government any be potting away. What car? Yes, aging policy or good. Now aging policy that paper so. Ni and fine yashia. Policy. Sep adiano or no one ya policy. Becomes a policy when it is workable.
The government of Ghana's aging policy 2010 themed Aging with Security and Dignity outlines the policies and strategies that will be promoted and pursued by government of Ghana to improve the living standards of older persons in Ghana. Key among the strategies is to build a database on older persons. Honorable Cynthia Mamle Morrison reveals more on this database.
As a cra, Makade Oho Yankakra, on any data. Say what data of running irrespective of baby or child, you can just readily fish out for him or her. But Obuwa or ye Abrewa or the uncompleted building be me webia Jowulu and a beling. If your area now continue, there's no way back at the Sebi Obuwa or fall within a category or the to measure. But maybe as a data or I walk around at least.
While older persons fall within the benefiting category for government's flagship program on social protection, that is the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, not all older persons get to benefit. Sometimes even the most vulnerable miss out on benefits from the social protection program.
Are you part of those who benefit from the LEAP?
No. They didn't call me.
Have you ever received some of the money before?
They gave me about 5 years or 6 years now. They didn't give us. They say they should write our name. Then they write our name. They take my name in the book. So that's it. That is the end. The money they want to give us, then they stop.
More than 1.5 years. Means I can't media. Maybe I nantis or quadenta will be so as school junction. Maybe as I has it 1 nano fresh same Medina. And I may banzo abrafid uncle. Also, I ran a night. No, because the beer or quite in Sanka. You can make the idea in Sanka. This is me, Piscanama Hospital.
About Scano. Time be for 2000 and now. Ya cherry and Ferdinand dinner you call 3 times. I got him saying there. Yanti did. So, yet, this is Scano. A man for Yapa. Your social security in your Archer. Archer dinner you call. No. Yeah, this is one number just kind of so
This is what the minister had to say about the gaps in the Livelihood Empowerment Program, LEAP.
And one son came because another targeting group, mini World Bank for Akasa on one rolling one on why they may build the data. In Singapore, I will go taking the data. After 1 month, 2 months, we are trying to roll out a binum of any leap. Leap means you hop, you jump. Into ye baby binume feel leaping. Ye you want in film keke. Obo horse me you can afford. Make remember. Ye every 2 months na be discount. At least 10 pesos substantial amount of money from mana. Obo tum da ye oje to go another ye juma no wa share ban send up better leap do.
Addressing the trauma of stigma and discrimination associated with COVID-19 cannot be underestimated. For some older persons, the attitude of Ghanaians stigmatizing people with diseases is inherent and not just about COVID-19 virus.
I know Sabi and Yansa and Chirodo and Manipa. So the Ghana had the assassin on here. I just say, Bodam for a good. That's according to you, will be no any day, Kurano, Kunfi, Kura. Yem moon is so in Nipa. I knew you.
So, when Yaya and now corner and hot on, I don't know when you need to. One fire and I'm busy. What's sunny, I don't know what on. They say, nah, and then you have it's only a son, only yay. Nga san yare awie na yare no kodia ehu hia so obanwa na opampam asa wankasa wo bakora wetuma pam obi anka no comment ni yem no yankopon na ohwe won yare ba yame ahwe won ama sebi wo ho ato nti obi a owo akiri biala odi wo ho yawo ma ondi yawo de mo fra nipa na abenti on fa ne yefri one ne ntina asin yefri
so kobaba oye nipa Ntibao means also Mujina wa too.
Enye fine. Na efutubia yediamawomu. Won fenye nkwanshena abekayemu.
So what do older persons expect from government in this pandemic?
Ilane ahamis kanmaka ki inga samyan maka chuni ko chueni obi onyangmana ne manna kanmaka chuni ne kanoko nginya gbayo kone abayi ne wami. Say is no betro ni kan engami hawo da do hinga do
se me ke piens ka se mi to bibia ababa bamboam na me o mama sika kakra na me ko to da dia me hia bia ya to je bi ni ton sum bia na ma to piota atu am te ban da ba boma ni me bia bipi o mama sika kakra bia ni me kita ni hia bibia na ma to.
For money matter, if you money do it for your pocket, money do it for you or matter, you no go happy. The money, if you do small thing there for your pocket or hand like this, you go happy. If you no money no day for you like this, you think about. If you no work, get small money you chop yourself, you go think about.
All right.
So if the government say go help for the grown man like this, I'm happy.
Sɛnea deɛ ɔmo a menam metumi nkɔ hospital no na nkɔmenim sɛ ɛbɛbie.
Sɛnea watu ayi mu saa no ɔntum mae saa me bɔda no na sɛ bi a yɛntumi hu sɛ bi a wɔn a ɛkɔ asa aba no obie sisi a ɛbɛyɛ nti me imagine sɛ sɛnea wɔayɛ no ɛnkɔ no saa.
ayɛ den kasa since 1972 maasoma man paa na ɛna de bɛtum kɔ ba ne nkyɛn ma wɔn sɛ da sɛ bosom bi a na bibi a kutu ɛbɛn nsa da me nyɛ wɔn fanta bibi.
For a social worker and academician like Dr. Akosua Bona Agyemang, she expects that Ghana's aging policy documents should be implemented to the latter.
In the case of the elderly, no, say no, one de bi ohana no mo ko morbidities ka krantina ma wo mu wu no. Say government me subsidize medications na enuane kakra nso ebe ya anka eduane. Untumi nka say government take up akokra na say obia eduane, but ni nyina boils down to policy so. Say policies ni ye adwuma bi anka we betumi aba. Eniema bi wo ho a ye nim say eduane we nkokrafo ne merwafo di a beboa wo nanka no so eho bo ba fom a no mo tumi with their little money no mo tumi atọ policies no die wo mo be and stand out a year purposely for older persons na yentumi nya sika bi budget bi and to engage with stakeholders, the state, because should be able to do this for its own older person because they are a resource. And we shouldn't forget, say, one day, unless you go too soon. If you don't go too soon, you'll be celebrated. And so you get there before you are celebrated. Inti here say, you bo modern and ne, a passes aging policy into law, and now there were brought for no more canon. Not a year workable, and your mass policies, and your paper policies.
Honorable Cynthia Mamle Morrison believes that government's interventions only cannot adequately provide the social protection for older persons in Ghana. She called on all to assist in this regard.
Homes in Anayeye, baby recreational centers, like the daycare be in Brombe to Abetan, see social distancing into me. I know COVID is going to stay with us for not make it a long time. On call. But if we post COVID ni pono bia bosuo no kakra dem large gathering about kofum kakra inti no kofum kakra yene mbre won so oye house to have visitation and able to my nkese because they are very weak and fragile they eba catch on the won konko share nipadom dam mesre woman yem fa respect in my yene mbre wa ohon we hu wi asese ma ye hu si ehwe ho ye ya no ye nhira ma hen. So your mammy put not to ben on no way to ban many binondi. Coco na pan on and a people to my time and a buffalo to be a farmer mondi. If we are bring me the ban on your bosh and a money binondi. On say she is a banner to me may become more or say keke. No come out with punch a benya brew being now adopting yam from a penny adopt one. Adopt a brew will be little machine. Enton any cats now for your grandpa. Monya will responsibility now duty there also able to machine. And I will hear one brown and cry for one I one. On my own behalf and on behalf of the government, the pledge though that brew will be a cocrebia ninwaji. A cocrebia brew will be a odi and son will. One life to live, but unfortunately, Obi will be no being. Imponi Ben should not be left behind the baby. It's a promise, a pledge there as much as we can.
If there is something our old folks do every day, it is to always ask God to let this virus leave our land.
I'm a boy, man, I'm boy. They are in one fee, beer, so do ya. Oh, hospital. One year, in man, Yamin say, I remember beer. No more sorry until the baby am a bonfire. Man, Yamis on Jay.
But you're not, I say, no. What one pass say, and your washing. One of my kind of boy. And Pam one say, and your washing.
You know, you're bompa, Manana can, and cook when you and shoot Ghana man. Yeah, so you know, if you never be able to mark on, you to make up.
And for when yes, a buy so maybe no more pedro, no more dear. ama yɛn nso yɛn ho atɔn.
Die kwa mamu. Because obi a better be ya de mu nye bi dance no bo. Onya mi doni ba. Where you were, you and you know Father. And it has all you know say wo. Ye who have better and quanti to me you.
Supporting older persons during this pandemic is everyone's business. Healthy aging is fundamental to the achievement of universal health coverage, implicit in Goal 3. However, without considering the health and social care needs of the ever-increasing numbers of older persons, Ghana's quest to achieve the universal health coverage will be impossible.
Me, I walk to my see how many McCurry, my son, and Piano 170. Morgan, you know.